Hello, Scorpio. There's something you need to hear, not in the language of flattery, not wrapped in metaphors, but spoken directly and clearly. The way your soul prefers to receive truth, you disturb people just by existing, not because you're doing anything wrong, not because you're flawed or broken, but because you carry a depth that most people spend their whole lives trying to avoid. You walk into a room, and suddenly others feel seen, exposed, uncomfortable, not because you judged them, but because your very presence holds up a mirror to the parts of themselves they've worked hard to suppress. Your authenticity doesn't scream, it studies, it observes, it penetrates, and that is what unsettles others. It's not your darkness, it's your clarity. People are drawn to you, and yet they don't know why. They feel the pull of your intensity, the gravitational force of your truth, but they're also afraid of it. You see, most people aren't ready to feel that much. They aren't prepared to be witnessed that closely. So they misread your silence as judgment, your solitude as arrogance, your strength as threat. You've likely spent years wondering why your relationships feel strained, why people retreat just when you start revealing your full self. The truth is, Scorpio, your energy demands honesty, and not everyone is willing to pay that price. So they label you complicated, cold, difficult, when in fact, you're simply uninterested in pretense. What makes you powerful isn't loud or performative. It's the fact that you refuse to betray yourself, that you don't dilute your instincts just to make others feel safe. You don't live for approval, and you don't fear being misunderstood. But let me tell you what matters most. Now you have to stop interpreting the discomfort you provoke as a sign that you're broken or wrong. It's not a flaw. It's feedback from a world addicted to the shallow and terrified of the real. You are real. And realness, especially in a society that celebrates surfaces, will always provoke a reaction. So what do you do with this truth? You stop apologizing. You stop shrinking. You stop over-explaining your silence or softening your insight to fit someone else's comfort zone. You lean in. You let your energy do what it was made to do: challenge, transform, and awaken. Because some people will run from it. Yes, but the right ones will stay. And they will thank you for reminding them what it means to feel something true. We'll talk more in a moment about how to use this intensity in ways that actually serve your path, not sabotage it. But first, I want you to sit with this one truth: you are not too much. You are just unwilling to be less than who you really are. And that, Scorpio, is not a burden. It's your design. Scorpio makes people uncomfortable simply by existing, not because you do anything wrong, but because the energy you carry is too honest, too deep, too raw for most people to tolerate without feeling exposed. Your presence doesn't need to be loud or performative to have an impact. It's not in what you say, but in what you see, how you walk into a room and immediately sense what's unspoken, how your silence holds more weight than someone else's entire speech. You don't perform emotion, you feel it fully. You don't pretend to understand people, you actually do. And that your ability to penetrate through the surface and touch the truth beneath is what unsettles those who have built their lives around avoidance. You see, Scorpio, people aren't unnerved by you because you are too much. They are unnerved because around you, they can no longer hide from themselves. You don't force vulnerability, but your energy invites it, almost demands it, without effort. You stir something ancient in others, a knowing, a memory, a grief they thought they'd buried long ago. That's not something everyone is ready for. So they flinch. They mislabel. They turn away, not because of who you are, but because of who they become when they're seen by someone like you. You don't bring fear, you bring clarity. And clarity is rarely comfortable. What many people fail to realize is that your energy is not an act of aggression or dominance, it's an act of presence. You show up fully, even when you're quiet. You exist in wholeness, even when you're broken. And that wholeness, that unwillingness to fragment yourself for the sake of fitting in, makes others confront the parts of themselves they've abandoned. You remind people of what it means to feel deeply, to trust instinct, to live without apology. And for those who are used to numbing themselves just to get through the day, being around you is like standing too close to a fire. They instinctively step back, not because the fire is wrong, but because they're not ready to feel warmth again. So let's make something very clear. Your presence is not a problem. It's not something to manage or shrink or suppress to make others more comfortable. It is, in fact, the very medicine this world desperately needs. In a culture addicted to small talk and superficial performance, your depth is a disruption, but a necessary one. You are not meant to be palatable. You are not meant to be diluted. You are meant to move things. You are meant to change atmospheres. And you do, whether or not you're trying. We'll continue exploring this in a moment, how to protect your energy without closing off, how to discern which connections are worth your emotional investment, and how to use this natural power of truth-telling in a way that supports your growth instead of exhausting you. But for now, I want you to remember this. If you feel like your presence bothers people, if you sense their unease and it makes you question your worth, don't. You are not too intense. You are not too complicated. You are simply honest in a world that has forgotten how to be. And your honesty is not the problem. It's the invitation. You are a catalyst. Scorpio, not by effort, but by nature. Wherever you go, the atmosphere shifts, conversation deepen, superficiality cracks. People feel something stir within them that they didn't expect. Around you, life feels more immediate, more intense, more real. And for those who are ready to grow, that energy is magnetic. They lean in. They feel inspired. They remember dreams they buried, truths they silenced, parts of themselves they once abandoned in order to survive. But not everyone is ready. And when someone isn't prepared to evolve, your energy doesn't feel like inspiration. It feels like pressure. It feels like confrontation. It feels like a threat to the fragile systems they've built to avoid transformation. Your very presence disrupts emotional autopilot. You activate awareness in people who have spent years learning how to shut it down. You bring life back into places where people have learned to survive by going numb. And this isn't something you try to do. It simply happens because your field of energy doesn't accommodate falsehood. You walk into a space and suddenly people are more aware of their truth, their pain, their desire for change. Some will be grateful for this. Some will resist it. Some will even resent you for it because they confuse the discomfort of awakening with an attack. But again, this has nothing to do with you personally. This is what it means to be a living catalyst. You don't force movement, but your presence makes stagnation unbearable. This is why, at times, you may feel like people project their chaos onto you or distance themselves without explanation. You're not imagining it. They're reacting to a part of themselves they can't yet face. Your energy reveals what's dormant, what's repressed, what's quietly yearning to come alive, and not everyone is ready to meet that version of themselves. But just because they're not ready doesn't mean you should dim. The discomfort you provoke is often the first sign of someone's internal awakening, even if they don't recognize it in the moment. You are not here to make others feel safe in their stagnation. You are here to make life feel real again. And Scorpio, the more you own this role, not with arrogance, but with grounded clarity, the more peace you'll find. Not because everyone will suddenly understand you, but because you'll stop needing them to. You'll see that your power lies not in being liked, but in being real, and your ability to shift energy, to wake people up, to mirror truth back to the world is not something to be ashamed of. It's the very reason you were sent here. Your presence functions like a mirror. Scorpio, not the kind that flatters or distorts, but one that reflects what's real, unfiltered, and often uncomfortable. When people stand near you, They don't just see you, they begin to see themselves. And not just the parts they're proud of, but the fears they've silenced, the compromises they've made, the limitations they've grown used to wearing like armor. This is the true reason you provoke such strong, often contradictory reactions. People admire you for your depth, for your self-possession, for the quiet intensity that doesn't ask for permission to exist, but at the same time, that very force unsettles them, because it throws into sharp relief how far they've drifted from their own truth. You walk through the world with a kind of emotional X-ray. Even in silence, people can feel that you see them, not just their roles, their reputations, or their rehearsed personalities, but the parts they try to keep hidden even from themselves. And for some, that reflection awakens hope. It shows them that change is possible, that depth is still real, that it's not too late to live with honesty. But for others, it brings discomfort, even resentment. They'll call you intense or too serious, or accuse you of being distant, not because you are any of those things, but because being near you makes them realize how small they've been allowing themselves to live. This tension, that dual pull of reverence and resistance, is not a flaw in your design. It's a natural byproduct of the role you play in this world. You don't ask people to change. You don't force them to see themselves. But when they enter your field, it becomes harder to stay asleep. You trigger in them the memory of their own authenticity. And with that memory comes grief, fear, and sometimes anger, not at you, but at what they gave up, at what they've lost touch with, at the version of themselves they see mirrored in your uncompromising presence. You are not here to make people comfortable. You are here to make them conscious. And being a mirror isn't always an easy role to hold, especially when the reflections you reveal aren't met with gratitude. But understand this, Scorpio, the admiration people feel for you is real. The envy is real too. And both are rooted in the same truth, that in your presence, people come face to face with everything they've avoided. That's a sacred responsibility. And it's one only someone with your resilience, your emotional integrity, and your capacity for transformation can carry. So here is the truth you need to hold. Scorpio, not just intellectually, but somatically, deep in your bones where your instincts live and where your knowing cannot be shaken, you do not need to apologize for who you are. Not for your intensity, not for your silence, not for the weight your presence carries. You were not built to be soft edges and easy comfort. You were not made to dilute your insight so others could pretend not to feel. You were designed to see clearly, to move precisely, to feel deeply, and that kind of presence cannot be contained without cost. Every time you've made yourself smaller just to keep the peace, just to avoid the stares or silence the judgment, a part of you has paid the price, and the time has come to stop paying it. You are not meant to blend in. You are not meant to be digestible or universally accepted. You are here to guide, to awaken, to challenge the numbness that has become the default for so many. And guidance, real guidance, rarely feels easy in the moment. It doesn't come wrapped in pleasing tones or simple affirmations. It comes in the form of someone like you, someone who doesn't pretend, someone who doesn't flatter, someone who tells the truth without needing to raise their voice. The world does not need more people who fit in. It needs people who disrupt what no longer works. And Scorpio, that's where you come in, not as a destroyer, but as a revealer. You pull back the curtain. You name the thing no one else will name. You speak to the part of people that still remembers what honesty feels like. Zoe, stop shrinking. Stop apologizing. Stop explaining your silence. Your boundaries. Your standards. They exist for a reason. You see what others don't. You sense what others deny. And your role isn't to make them comfortable with their limitations. It's to remind them they were never meant to live so small. Your presence wakes people up. That's not arrogance. It's design. Your energy doesn't conform to what's convenient. It aligns with what's real. And yes, That will cost you some approval, some relationships, some temporary comfort, but it will return to you the only thing that ever truly matters, your alignment with your own essence. Scorpio, you were not meant to follow. You were born to lead not with loud commands or performative confidence, but with unwavering truth. You lead by being fully yourself. And when you live that truth without apology, without editing, without waiting for permission, you give others the permission they've been waiting for. To feel again, to confront again, to live again. You weren't sent here to blend in. You were sent here to awaken. And it's time you stopped apologizing for the light that naturally shines from within you, even when it unsettles the darkness around you. So let this be your reminder. Scorpio, the power you carry does not require universal understanding. And it was never meant to. It's not something that needs to be explained in order to be real. It doesn't require validation from those who haven't done the work to meet themselves. Your strength, your depth, your unshakable ability to see through illusion that isn't meant to be dissected or proven. It's meant to be lived, fully, clearly, without disguise. You don't owe the world an explanation for the way your energy moves through it. You owe yourself the dignity of not shrinking in order to be more palatable to those who are still afraid of the truth you represent. Your gift isn't meant to soothe everyone, it's meant to stir those who are ready. It's meant to ignite something in the ones who are quietly waiting for permission to step into their own power. Your presence is a torch in a world that often forgets how to feel, and while not everyone will thank you for that, the ones who are ready will recognize it immediately. You don't need masses. You need resonance. You need alignment. You need to trust that by being fully yourself, you are already doing your part in a collective awakening that doesn't happen through noise, but through presence, through the courage to be real in a world addicted to pretending. Scorpio, your power isn't in how many understand you, it's in how fully you live the truth of who you are. Let that be enough. Let that be sacred. Let that be the light you walk with, unfiltered, unedited, unapologetic. Because the ones who are meant to awaken through your presence will feel it without needing it explained, and that, in the end, is the true reach of your gift.